Hello, and I'm going to read you a book called Fledgling by Lucy Hope. And this is a fantasy story, and it says the owls are another sign. It's just that Casey Engel doesn't know what it all means, and she doesn't have long to find out because grim forces are gathering and she's right in their path, full of soaring twists and turns. So an unforgettable adventure from an exciting storyteller. So I'm going to read chapter 1 and chapter 2 to you. Chapter 1 is set in Edinburgh, Bavaria in the 1900s. Our house perches on top of a tall rock. My great-great-grandfather, Walter Engel, built it years ago, hauling the foundation stones up by rope and pulley. It was a simple place at the beginning, just a hopscotch of rooms looking down at the Bratvian forest and the small town of Edinburgh. With a growing collection of stuffed owls, Walter built another story dedicated to their display and an annex at the side for his book collection. In the middle years, he built 2 more floors for his frequent house guests. When Mother inherited the house, she added a music room at the top. Today, our house stretches precariously to the sky, a monument of dreams of 5 generations of the Engel family. Living on a rock presented various challenges over the years, particularly the problem of how to reach the house with crampons and climbing boots. My great-grandfather designed a mechanical winch system that bounced white-knuckled visitors up and down the rock at great speed. My grandfather's somewhat safer solution was to use explosives to blast out a road that encircled the rock in a helter-skelter, and to this day that is how we come and go from our eyrie either on foot or by carriage. So that is where we live. Mother, Papa, Grandma and me. At night I can see Muchen miles away, where Mother performs at the Opera House. When not on stage, she spends a day in the music room rehearsing for the next performance. Grandma's moved back in with us when the illness took hold last year. It's spreading through her body, now gnawing at her bones. She used to look after me when Mother was performing, and I was too young to live alone. We'd play games like I Spy and hide and seek amongst the owls. When I was 6, she taught me the Bavarian dance of her childhood. I sit with her now, looking at her hand, squeezing cool water on her parched lips with a small sponge. She's a remnant of her former self, a heap of hollow bones, sunken cheeks and white hair. Remembering the nurses are coming later to see her, I check the dials on the brass morphine pump. It was designed by Grandpa years ago to relieve my Uncle Killian's pain after he returned from war with a shattered leg. The bellows hiss and heave noisily, and I wonder how she sleeps through the racket. I adjust the setting, allowing a little more powerful medicine to flow into her veins. I gently kiss her hand and head back to my room. A storm is brewing. Living high like this, we see the weather coming before anyone else. Storms coming, I tap on my little Morse code machine, warning Raphael, one of my only friends in Edinburgh. People tend to stay away from us these days, what with the house and the owls and Mother. Thanks, he taps back. I glance down at the house at the edge of the town and see him lean out of his window and pull his window closed. Mother is in her music room as always. I know she'll keep her windows open despite the storm. People whisper when they see her standing at the window, as if performing to the heavens. She's singing Angus Day, Lamb of the God. The wind catches her voice and it weaves round a rock up into her eye of approaching storm. The world becomes dark. Rain pelts at my window. Mother sings. Grandma pumps sighs. I hear a tap at my window and press my face against the rain-soaked glass but see nothing. I throw myself back on the bed and return to my book. I hear the tapping again. I try and ignore it, but it comes again. Curiosity finally overwhelms me and I pad back to the window, planning to open it just an inch. The wind catches it, throwing it open, and the storm fills my room. Something whispers past my ear and lands with a gentle thud on the bed. I slam my window closed, my hands shaking. Turning back to my bed, I see what looks like a bird of prey lying in sodden, trembling heap on my eiderdown. I pick it up carefully, wrap it in a shawl and hold it on my lap like a baby. Having grown up with a collection of stuffed owls, I should be able to identify it. Eventually, the creature's trembling subsides, and I unwrap my little package to see what was inside, certain it was just about a barn owl. I examine it, gently lifting its wing, turning it over, My heart stops. It can't be. I tap a message to Raphael again. Please come, I need you, now. Now? Yes, I replied, now. The creature seems to be in a deep sleep. I barely dare touch it, but I am certain I know what it is. 4 tiny wings protrude from its shoulder blades. Its body is covered in scruffy feathers. The skin on its hand and feet are a feel of parchment. I touch the sparse, soft hair on its head. It's dark like mine, but finer. Still wet after the storm, I begin to shiver. It begins to shiver. I wrap the shawl around it again. Its pale face with tightly shut eyes is a sleeping infant. Raphael comes before the storm has passed. He's drenched. I have something to show you, I say. He bends down to kiss my cheek. Hello, Cassie. How are you? How lovely to see you. Oh, sorry. Hello, Raphael, but something strange has happened. I don't know what to do. He looks down at me and then at the bundle in my arms. I think you need to sit down. I cannot think of anyone else in the world I can trust with this. Gentle Raphael is the obvious and only choice. He sits and I place the creature on his knee. He unwraps the shawl a little. He looks at me. Is this what I think it is? I nod. He wraps it up again, his eyes wide. Where on earth did you find her? She's blown into my room in the storm. I heard a tapping on the window. I opened it and she landed on my bed just here. I point at a patch on my bed where it is still a little bit wet. I thought you only found them in the Bible. I add. I didn't think they actually existed, and I thought they were supposed to be boys. These stories are from a different time. Do you think she's some kind of angel? She might be a cherub, actually. They're quite different to angels. I remember the exhibition of religious paintings Grandma took me to see nearly 2 years ago. The main hall was filled with oil paintings and statues of cherubs. That couldn't possibly what had lifted. They were pink, well-fed infants with little wings that couldn't possibly have lifted them into the air. There was nothing like this strange creature here. What do you think I should do with her? I whisper. I don't know, he says, handing her back to me. It's not something I know much about. He turns away from it to avoid my gaze. We could hardly look in the library to see if there's anything there on cherubs, I say, visualising the shelves in the old library downstairs. There's a section on feathered creatures and definitely some religious books. He nods, but we need to be careful. It's possible someone or something will be out looking for her. What sort of something? I'm not sure. He walks to the window and looks up at the sky, frowning. The storm is subsiding. The dark clouds swirl around the house, accentuating the gloom in my room. Do you think we could feed her? I say, shivering. I don't think so. I expect she needs something other than food to stay alive, such as... He shakes his head. I just think her needs will be quite different to those of a human baby. He hesitates. I don't think you should tell your parents about her for now. I nod. Where could she have come from? He looks at me, as if considering something. Perhaps she's lost the others in the storm, like a little bird separated from its flock. I look at him. The other what? I say, the hairs on my back of my neck's pricking. You think there are more like her out there? Probably not like her, mostly like angels. Was your... He stops himself. Was my what? Oh, nothing. What is it, Raphael? Your mother was singing earlier, wasn't she? Yes, of course she was. She's always singing. What are you saying? Well, I know it sounds peculiar, but I think angels might communicate by song, like whales. I'm wondering if she was drawn to your mother's voice. Maybe she thought her singing was a host calling to her. My host, you mean? Other angels? I say, even though I know the answer. He nods. You think they'll come looking for their baby? Possibly. I don't know. I don't know any much more than you, Cassie, but I do know that this isn't a baby. She's possibly thousands of years old. I glance down at the creature in my arms, at her strange paper-like skin, delicate feathers. I cannot believe that she is so ancient. Chapter 2. We climb the narrow staircase to the owlery, the room that leads to the library. I hug the cherub close. Her heart seems to beat in time to mine. The owlery hasn't changed since my great-great-grandfather established his collection of stuffed owls nearly 100 years ago. Wide-eyed creatures stare at us from the ebony-framed display cases as we pass. My favourite Otto, the pygmy owl, sits caged for eternity with his friend Fritz, the tawny owl. Eric, the giant eagle owl, stands majestically in the middle of the room in the vast dome-shaped glass case, his wings outstretched, his eyes wild. Tiny handwritten labels hang from the owls. clause, identifying each of the 38 creatures by their Latin names. The owls are my responsibility, and I've established a daily routine of dusting feathers, replacing rusting pins, and polishing cases until they gleam. Grandma's named me as an official curator when it becomes clear to everyone that Mother would not keep the owl safe. This responsibility had been mine since my 10th birthday. The ancient heating system clatters and crashes on the tread of the creaking floorboards. I kick the cast iron pipe that runs alongside the side of the room, and the noise subsides. I'm pleased to be wearing my sturdy boots. We pass through the door at the far end and step into the library. It's even darker in here than the owlery, as the room was designed with just one small window to protect the book from the effects of the sunlight. Raphael reaches across the battered leather desk on the centre of the room, flicks the switch of the desk lamp. I breathe in the familiar sense of the ancient tobacco mingled with old books and leather, a sensory legacy from my great-great-grandfather that I never really knew. The walls are lined from floor to ceiling with books of all shapes and sizes, with subjects ranging from philosophy to anatomy and dancing cats. Of course, there is a whole section of birds identified by a handmade all things feathered sign. I hope to find something useful here, but I wonder if texts on cherubs could be hidden amongst these texts, maybe within the section of all things supernatural or even world religions. We should start looking where should we start looking? Asked Raphael, glancing about the room. I guess somewhere around here, I say, running my fingers along the spine of the tall leather-bound book entitled Owl Taxidermy for Novices, within the feathered section. Walter Engel organised his library in such a way that it makes it impossible to find whatever you're looking for, but I have a distinct feeling that he might have placed books on angels close to the reference book on owls. I hear Mother calling and my heart sinks. She doesn't call me in the usual way a mother does. Instead, she sings my name in a character of her latest role. This month, she's been rehearsing to play Malwina in the opera Der Vampire. Cassie, 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 she sings in a rising, increasing volume with each note. Cassie, Cassie, Cassie. I put my head down, hoping she might forget about me, but she doesn't stop, and her voice rises steadily until no one can bear it any longer. Would you like me to come with you? Asked Raphael. I want more than anything for Raphael to come with me, but it's best if I'm on my own. It's the unpredictability that's the problem. I never know how she might be from one moment to the next these days. I think you should stay here, I say, holding the creature tightly in my arms. I don't want to let go of her, with her heart pounding next to mine. She's beginning to feel like part of me. You need to look after her, this cherub, whilst I'm gone. I hand her to him. I'm worried about Bram. What Bram will do if he sees her? He's as gentle as a kitten with me, but brutal with anything feathered. He brought down a sparrowhawk on the rock just yesterday. Raphael smiles. If you're sure, but call if you need me. I'll leave Raphael in the library and head towards the spiral staircase that leads up to my mother's music room.